How's it going, everybody? My name's Warner Fields with Fields of Profits. Today I'm here with my friend Corey, who's been crushing it with the Amazon wholesale game. I know a lot of you guys who watch the channel do online arbitrage, so it's a good kind of thing to add into your business. So we're going to be breaking down all the nitty-gritty details here today with Corey. But if you just want to introduce yourself, I know we've talked a little bit before on the channel, but just in case they haven't seen you, how'd you get into Amazon? What's your Amazon business looking like these days? How much you sell on that type of stuff? And we'll go from there.
Yeah. So Warner, thanks for having me back. So for those of you that you're hearing about me for the first time, we've got, I think, like you said, 2 videos on your channel over the last year and a half, breaking down some of the wholesale stuff. But in general, guys, like Warner said, my name's Corey Ganem. I've been selling on Amazon for just over 7 years now. I started flipping used books and I got into online arbitrage, and now I'm doing wholesale. I've been doing wholesale for 5.5 years now, since the beginning of 2019. This past year, I did, I think, 3.2 million in sales. I've done over 12 million lifetime sales, got a team of virtual assistants that kind of run the whole show for me at this point. So I think in this interview, we're going to be going into some of the strategies and some of the details and some stuff around that. Yeah.
Excited to have you back on the channel, dive into some awesome sauce on wholesale and stuff. And I think 5.5 years in wholesale makes you probably, I'm about there for arbitrage. I think that makes us like dinosaurs in the Amazon industry.
Yeah. Because it's a space where I feel like more and more people are finding out about not just selling on Amazon, but just e-commerce in general every day. There's a lot of interest around what we're doing. There's a lot of people that want to do what we're doing. So yeah, it's a big space that there's room for plenty more.
Yeah. Why don't we touch on that for a second? So for somebody who's watching, they're like, why are these 2 Amazon sellers sitting on here telling me how to sell on Amazon? Is there really that much opportunity to go around? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And one of probably the biggest pushback that people like you or I get, it's like, why are you out here giving away all this information or talking about it if it truly is that good of an opportunity? And listen, perfectly legitimate question from somebody who rightfully so should be a little skeptical when they see ads of people driving around in Lambos selling these courses and whatnot. But the answer to that question could be summed up in a statistic that I actually heard recently. So there are 2,000 new Amazon seller accounts created every single day. 6 months later, less than 10% of those accounts are still active. So over 90% of Amazon sellers quit within 6 months. Now, that is a good thing for those of you watching this that are serious about this opportunity, because if you can just stick it out for 6 months or longer, 90% of your competition fell off, right? And there are over 2 million different brands on Amazon, hundreds, if not thousands, being added every single day. So if you can capture 0.0001% of the market, even smaller than that, you're going to have a 7 or possibly even 8-figure business on your hands just from putting in that work over the course of multiple years' time.
If you're hearing that stat, like it really just comes down to, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to stick it out? Are you willing to be like, oh, okay, this isn't a get rich quick, all that type of stuff. But all the
Yeah,
stuff we're going
far
to break
from
down
it.
today with Corey is how to build relationships with those brands and how to actually find those profitable products. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. For that guy or girl, they're wanting to, maybe they've never sold on Amazon, they've done some arbitrage. What's the first step when you start getting into wholesale? It's pretty overwhelming, right? Should I start finding suppliers? Should I figure out what I'm selling? What's that first step?
Yeah, so to try to simplify it for you guys as much as possible, the key is really just taking action, even if you don't have all the facts available. So if I'm the person that you just mentioned there, got a little bit of Amazon experience, maybe I've done some arbitrage, I want to jump into wholesale, so how do I do it? I would first take a look at the brands that you've been selling already, right? Like if you're doing arbitrage, you've got a couple of brands that you've already been selling probably for a good amount of time. Easy thing to do is just call up those brands and ask them about opening a wholesale account, right? And if they're these really big brands, then ask them who their distributors are. And more than likely, they're going to point you towards those distributors who, by the way, also carry 50, 100, or 200 other brands just like them. So now you maybe unlock an opportunity to source not only the brand that you called about, but other brands.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think a lot of people overthink like what should I sell? What brand should I start looking into? That kind of process. So like when you first started, did you like gravitate towards any certain category, or like what should they start looking into as a new seller?
Yeah, so I didn't really gravitate to any specific category or any specific type of product, but generally speaking, I feel like a lot of sellers, especially ones that are just getting into wholesale, they go for the quote unquote sexy categories, right? They want to sell supplements, or they want to sell video games, or they want to sell beauty or grocery. And listen, all of those are great categories. There's tons of profitable opportunities in all of the categories that I just mentioned. However, I like to push people toward the unsexy categories, those categories that people don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I want to sell automotive products on Amazon, right? Or, hey, I want to sell paper towel dispensers on Amazon, right? The type of stuff that are still profitable, still a lot of opportunities, but there's just less competition for them because most sellers aren't looking for that type of stuff. So I usually push sellers towards the categories that are a little more low key, things like industrial and scientific, things like automotive, things like tools, and some of these categories that might be a little lower key because they're just simply less competitive.
Yeah, I've been doing that a little bit with arbitrage as well. You'd be surprised how much profit there is just like slinging like oil filters and like random
Oh,
parts.
so much.
Like no one
Yeah.
wants to start selling. Everyone wants to hop in on selling Legos and Nikes and all that kind of stuff. But no one's like, oh, I can't wait to sell like car air filters. So there's a lot of profit there. And we'll be diving into more details on this. But all this type of stuff that Corey's breaking down today, he's actually hosting a week-long live training with you guys called the Wholesale Challenge. It's going to be closing off admissions this Sunday at midnight. So you guys want to check that out. We'll be diving into more details on that later on. I just want to let you know all that kind of stuff available for you guys. So as you're finding that auto supplier, whatever it is, right? I know I see a lot of new Amazon sellers. They'll jump in and say, oh, I found this supplier on Instagram. Should I be buying from this? And you and I were talking a little bit about how important that is these days. So like, how do you know when you're going to get scammed, when your documents will work? Like, what does a legit supplier look like?
Yeah, and that's a great question because that is probably what hurts newer wholesale sellers more than anything else is that buying products from a source that's not legitimate, right? And now your question is what makes a source legitimate? So it's a couple of things. One, best case scenario, you'd be buying directly from the manufacturer, right? Or directly from the brand. We use the term brand and manufacturer interchangeably. So whenever possible, if you can buy directly from the brand, that's what you want to do because there's no question about authenticity. There's no question even about whether you're allowed to sell that product because as long as you've been upfront with them and they know who you are and they know what you're doing, then you're going to be perfectly allowed to sell their product and you're not going to really run into any issues selling that brand on Amazon. So the second best case scenario is you're buying from an authorized distributor who is buying from directly from the manufacturer. So if for some reason you buy directly from the brand, either they won't give you an account or they're too big and they don't sell directly to retailers. Next best case scenario is to find a distributor that is large, that is legitimate, that has been established, that's been around for a long time, and that distributor is buying directly from the brand. So that way the supply chain is very clear. It's going, the brand is selling it to the distributor and then the distributor is selling it to you. So that way, if Amazon ever pushes back on you and says, hey, are these good legitimate? Where are you buying from? What does your supply chain look like? It's very easy for you to just basically produce your invoice from that distributor to prove to Amazon that you're buying perfectly legitimate product, right? So those are really the only two instances where you're going to be safe. If you're buying from a random guy that has a company that has a really good deal on this particular product, just know that you're going to be you're
There might
taking
be
a
a
huge
reason,
risk. Yeah, there's a reason. Like tell people this all the time. It's listen, if the deal's too good to be true, it is. If somebody comes to you with a product that's selling, let's say 2,000 units a month, and you're going to make like a 35% ROI on it, and he's got lots of them in stock, then that should be a red flag. So at the end of the day, buying directly from the brand or buying from an authorized distributor is the only two options that are feasible in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, and that's especially important, especially for you new sellers. There's like section 3 reviews and all this kind of stuff where Amazon could just say, hey, show us your documents, let us know you're legit. It's good for the platform. A couple years ago, I know a lot of the Nike listings got flooded with just like absolutely fake stuff and no one could make a profit unless you were, it's like all this kind of stuff is good for us as sellers. Just make sure you're buying that legit inventory. You're not trying to cut corners and all that kind of stuff. When you're reaching out to these suppliers, you found the distributor, the brand themselves, that type of thing. What does that first initial phone call look like? Because I know for most people watching this video, that is the scariest part. And most people watching this video will never do it. So what's the simplest what's your approach on those phone calls?
Yeah. And so this is a topic that I really try to go out of my way to make this as easy and simple as possible for people. Because at the end of the day, the phone call part, it is the hardest. It is the most intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. Like you're just having a normal conversation with another human being. And the best part about it is it's not like I'm cold calling this brand, asking them to buy from me, asking them to give me money. I'm cold calling them saying, hey, I want to pay you. I want to buy your products. I want to put money in your pocket. So if anything, this conversation should be really easy for a lot of people, even though I know it's intimidating. So when you're calling these suppliers, the key is to be as specific as possible. You want to know what you want to buy, and ideally you want to know how many you want to buy as well. So there's really two different directions you can take it. If I'm calling a brand, I've done a little bit of research up front. I know what their best-selling products are. So when I call them up, I say, hey, Mr. Brand Owner, my name's Corey Ganem. I own a retail business here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm looking to buy 100 units of this product, 200 units of this product, and maybe 300 of this one. Who should I forward my purchase order to? So when you tell them, hey, this is exactly what I want, I'm ready to buy, they're a lot more likely to handle that request and deal with you. Now, if I'm calling a distributor, because keep in mind, distributors usually represent a lot of different brands. They might have hundreds of different brands that they carry. Usually I'm going to pick out 2 or 3 brands that they carry that I know I want to buy. And I say, hey, Mr. Distributor, same introduction, Corey Gano. I had a retail store down here in Charlotte. I see you guys carry brands X, Y, and and Z. I love those brands. I'm ready to buy a few specific products. I have an order in front of me ready to go. Who should I put my order in front of? Right? Again, always framing things through the lens of I'm looking to put money in your pocket today, because they're going to be way more likely to grant your request if you can, I guess, portray things.
Yeah. You're not just calling saying, hey, I think I want to buy products. Can you like let me know your prices and what you have? And, and they're like, oh
And
man, we got
that's,
another chore here.
yeah, and to touch on that, like, that's one of the biggest mistakes I made early on. I did this for years, and like I cringed thinking about it in hindsight. But I would call up, like, this was my pitch for the longest time. If I call a distributor, I'd say, hey, my name's Corey, I own a retail business. Can you send me your price list, or can you send me your application? And the first question they would always ask is, okay, hey, what do you do? What do you want to buy? What are you interested in? And my response in hindsight is so bad. I was like, oh, well, we buy anything that's profitable. So we're going to get your pricing. We're going to look through it. And then I'm going to decide what I want to buy based on your pricing. And if I'm the sales rep on the other end of that line, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, God, this guy has no idea what he wants. He's going to waste my time. He's just like the other 100 people that have called me this week and said that exact same thing. Right. So it's just when you're specific, you come across as way more serious and way more ready to go.
Yeah. Another major hack that I started stumbling into, you might have even told me this in the DMs or something like one time, is just mentioning somebody's name at a company they probably know. So like you say, hey,
Oh, yeah.
I talked to Steve over at XYZ Distribution. Like, oh, Steve, all right, what's up, man? Let me like, it's bizarre. Like it hacks like human psychology a little bit. Like you mentioned somebody they know and it's, oh, I know this guy too now. Like we're all in the same circle, which is, I just thought that was interesting for outreach. And that definitely helped us as well there.
Well, and it plays on the competitive nature of a lot of these
Yeah.
suppliers. So that's a huge hack. Like when you're talking, regardless of whether you're talking to a distributor or to a brand, if you can find some way of casually mentioning or just like name dropping one of their competitors. Because for example, there are 3 or 4 pretty large pool distributors that we buy from on a regular basis. I know that they all know each other. I know that they're all competitors. So like when I'm first opening that account, I might say, hey, yeah, actually we currently work with so-and-so over at Supplier X. And they're like, oh, you work with Supplier X? Okay, if they work with you, then you've got to be legitimate. So yeah, we'll try to get your account up, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You get like pre-vetted by one of the companies and they're all like, all right, you're good. You're good. You're good.
yeah, exactly.
I've even seen that if you can get into a really big distributor or big parent company or something like that, and you can just flex that name, that'll take you so far. Like
Totally.
one of my friends has an account direct with one of the biggest food brands in the country, and he just says, I have an account with them and anything is open
Everybody
for
will
it.
look
Like,
at it,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's like a major hack on that. Yeah. So when you are trying to figure out like what those products are that you're going to pitch them on, what are you actually looking at in the data? Like, how are you picking those products?
Yeah. So when I assume you're talking about when I'm calling them up and I'm saying, hey, I want to buy a product
Yeah.
XYZ. So typically I'm just taking, usually all I'm doing is I'm typing the brand name into Amazon and I'm just seeing what comes up. And I'm just looking for products where Amazon isn't dominating the listing. The product's selling at least 50 to 100 units a month, right? And I'm looking for products where if I look at that listing and I say, hey, if I were able to get this product at a good price, I'd want to sell it. So that's going to be subjective because what looks good to me might not look good to you. But in general, it's name dropping a couple of products where if you got good pricing, you would buy them. And the thing about this part of the process too is that some people might think, hey, if I call up a supplier and I name drop 3 products and they open my account and we're ready to move forward, are they going to hold me to that? Do I have to buy those products? What if the pricing isn't good? The beautiful part of that approach is you're just using those products and those brand names to get your foot in the door. They're not going to hold you to it. They're not going to say, hey, Corey, I know when we first talked, you said you wanted 100 units of this product. Are you ready to buy it? No, because you didn't have pricing. You were just starting conversation. They're not even going to remember that.
They're trying to make profit too. They understand. They're not going to.
Yeah.
Hey, Corey, the price
Exactly.
is $1 million per unit. You said you wanted 100, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They know how it is. They're going to be flexible. They're going to be willing to work.
Yeah, that's something that's interesting about like the distribution industry is typically no one's in distribution because it's like their passion. Right? Everybody's just
Right.
moving numbers around. So it's like, hey, this is what I need. I know that this is what you need. Let's make something work here. Like it's very interesting in that. No one's really taking things personally too often.
Oh, not, yeah. If you take things personally, it's not going to be, you're going to have a tough time because usually it's like, hey, this is the number I need. Either make it happen or it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, great. Nobody's feelings are hurt. It's on to the next.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So what would you say, like, obviously it's probably changed a lot over the years, but what would you say is like a good success rate when you're calling these brands, you have that initial conversation? Like, what should people expect?
Yes. Listen, even if you're new to wholesale, if you have a good pitch, if you're specific, if you follow up, if you do the things that we teach you, like specifically in the wholesale challenge happening next week, then you should be opening 30 to 50% in terms of opening accounts with 30 to 50% of the distributors that you call, at least. Right. And now when it comes to working directly with brands, a lot of brands brands are going to be choosier. So it's going to be harder to land those really good brand direct accounts. But even then, you should be opening 20 to 30% of the accounts of brands that you contacted well.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. Because I know a lot of people, though, at least for me, I definitely did not have a good approach when I started. So I ended up contacting like 25, 30 brands before I even got like anything. And I didn't know what I was doing. But obviously, especially if you guys are checking out the wholesale challenge, Corey's going to be diving into a lot of information there. Do you want to talk a little bit more what the wholesale challenge is going to look like? We're going to dive into tons more sauce on this YouTube video for you guys. But what is the wholesale challenge and how does it help a new wholesale seller?
Yeah, definitely. So the wholesale challenge, it's 7 days of live training on the entire wholesale business model A to Z. And this is the third time we're running it. We've had literally over 1,000 students come through it successfully to just go off and build wholesale businesses. But what I like about this training is it's not like a traditional course where you get access to a bunch of videos, you got to go through it. No, it's each night for 7 nights straight. We're on a live stream just like this, and we're deep diving for 2 to 3 hours into a specific wholesale topic each night. For example, like day 1 is all about finding suppliers, right? We're going to spend 3 hours finding suppliers. Day 2 is about contacting suppliers, what to say, what not to say, etc. And like I said, each day is dedicated to a specific topic. So it's like taking almost like an MBA level wholesale education and compressing it into 7 days.
Sweet. Yeah. And the wholesale challenge, I've personally learned a ton from for some of the wholesale I've done in my own business. The challenge, I've seen a ton of successful Amazon sellers. So if you guys want to check that out, the link's down below. You can go through that link to check out Corey's program there. It's going to be awesome. I know he massively over delivers. Like I remember one year you did like a 2-hour call that turned into like a 4-hour call. You guys are just jamming answering questions. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Like doing whatever it takes to help people see success there. So that's awesome. If you guys want to take wholesale seriously, I'd really recommend you go check that out. These live trainings are awesome. Like you said, it's not just videos. You get to actually talk with Corey and interact and get a lot of feedback for your business. Check that out if you want to grow. And let's jump into kind of another topic, right? For those, we've gone through the process. We found a supplier, the 70, 80% of the time where we're going to get rejected. How do you turn those no's into a yes?
So it's simple follow-up, right? And you're not going to be able to turn every single no into a yes. That's a given, but you're going to be able to turn a large portion of those no's into a yes eventually if you give it enough time. And so to give you guys an example of what that looks like, so currently my best wholesale account by far, it's a brand that took me 3.5 years of follow-up to land. Now, yeah, 3.5 years of follow-up, that's a lot of time. You're probably thinking, hey, was it worth it? Very much worth it, because with that brand, now brings me over 5 figures in profit every month, right? Sometimes $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 per month in profit. But like Warner said, it takes a lot of follow-up to get to that point. So I found them initially, I reached out, they weren't interested. They told me I could follow up once a quarter. I checked back once a quarter. Eventually the timing happened to be right, and they let us come on as an authorized reseller. You can turn those no's into yeses as long as you follow up.
That's awesome. Yeah. Were you pitching them on anything specific? I know some people will say, I'll fix your listings, run PPC, or were you just like saying, hey, can we buy from you yet? Can we buy from you yet? Or is it just literally follow up?
Yeah. So nothing really specific that we were pitching there. So this is a really big brand, probably in the neighborhood of 50 to 100 million a year in revenue. And they have basically a roster of approved Amazon resellers. I think they have 15, now down to 10 to 12. And so they don't even evaluate their roster except for once a year. So every year, unless somebody goes out of business, because most people are not going to just give up that position. Unless somebody like literally goes out of business, they're not having any spots open up. It was pretty much me following up and saying, hey, you have any spots? Anybody that dropping out? I have a purchase order ready to go. Again, always being specific, showing them what I want to buy, telling them I'm committed to the business. And then 1 year, hey, yeah, one of our dealers who just went out of business last month, we had a spot. You've been followed up for a while, so we'll fill you in.
Yeah, that's awesome. That hopefully it doesn't take you guys 3 years to land that supplier, but it's definitely worth it for those big ticket, super profitable ones.
And that's why it's key in having a pipeline too, right? Because yeah, that one took, if I did nothing else except follow up with that one for 3.5 years, 3.5 years later, you have a payoff. But the idea, guys, is like I have probably at least 3 to 5 other brands that I have been following up with for multiple years at this point, in addition to the suppliers that I landed relatively easily. So it's like the more outreach you do, the more suppliers you reach out to, yeah, you're going to get some quick wins. You're going to find some suppliers that are willing to work with you, that resonate with your messaging right away. But you're also going to have that pipeline of long-term follow-ups that, hey, even if 1 or 2 of those brands you've been following up with for a long time, if only 1 or 2 of those close, then that's going to be a huge opportunity for your business.
Yeah. And you also don't even have to buy direct from those brands either. If they want to keep
Mhm.
shutting you down and those products are flying, the margin looks good on Amazon, maybe you can take an extra middleman and say, hey, all right, who's your distributor? We'll buy from them for now. Let us know and we
Yep.
can buy from you, like that type of stuff. A lot of ways to turn a no into at least somewhat of a win, right? Yeah. So one thing that I really want to dive deep on, this is something that was probably the most confusing for me when I was learning wholesale, and I would assume for a lot of other sellers as well, is that process where you're like, all right, I want 300 of this, 200 of this, but this pricing's not super good. Can you dive into your strategy on how you get the prices you need? Are you taking losses on products to get it here? What's the typical strategy for you?
Yeah. So one of my favorite approaches to getting a discount, and it's a very simple, just one sentence line you can use, is that let's say they give you a quote on a product and the price just isn't quite where you need it to be. So you've got a price in your head that would work, right? Let's just say the supplier quotes you at $15 a unit and you need it at, let's say, $13.50. So the line that I like to use is I like to go back to my supplier. Instead of saying, hey, can I have a 10% discount, which is what you would need in that case, I like to say, hey, okay, you came back in 15. I need to be at 13.50. How many units do I need to buy to get 13.50 per unit? And so by simply asking them that question, one of two things are going to happen. One, they're going to give you the number that you need to buy. They're going to say, oh, you need to buy 1,000 units. At that point, it's up to you to determine, can you buy 1,000
Is that
units?
the next decade of
It's not going
stock,
to
or
work.
is that, oh, okay, it
Right.
works. Yeah.
Right. Or option two, they're simply going to tell you, sorry, we can't do 13.50. We'd pay more than 13.50. It's not going to work. So by asking them that question, you at least know where they stand. So I'd say 60 to 70% of the time, simply asking that question is enough for you to at least know how many you need to buy to get that price. Now, there's another method, and I've shared this method extensively on social media. This really works. It's called the 2PO method. And so what you do is you draft two different purchase orders, right? Purchase order one is a smaller order for maybe a couple of units at their current pricing. Purchase order two is a much larger purchase order for more units, but it assumes, let's just say 10% discount or 15% discount or whatever discount you need to make it work. So it almost has an implied discount. And what you do is you call up your sales rep. This works way better over the phone. Don't do this over email. So you call your sales rep and you say, hey, Mr. Sales Rep, I'm about to email you two different purchase orders. You're going to notice purchase order one is a little smaller. Purchase order two is much bigger, but it has an assumed 10% discount applied. Hey, it's up to you. Whichever order you want to process, you can process order number one. You can process order number two. I don't really care, but just let me know what you want to do. And it puts the ball in their court because they're going to get that email and they're going to say, oh, purchase order one is $500. Purchase order two is $5,000. He's already doing the math in his head of, oh, if I can get my manager to sign off on this discount here, I'm going to make $500 commission, right? Or what? He's already doing the math in his head. So what they're going to do, I guarantee you, he's going to walk down to his manager's office and he's going to go to bat for you to get you the price that you need to process purchase order number two, because he's going to make more money on that.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So everybody's incentives are aligned and it's so much more effective than you saying, hey, can I have 10% off? Because he's going to be like, he still doesn't have an order in hand, even if he gets to the discount, which in this case he does, right?
That's awesome. Yeah. Getting their salesman to go to campaign for you is a major hack there. Yeah. Another thing that I was thinking of when you, with that example, hey, we pay more than $13.50 for that item. Does that tell you like, okay, maybe I should look for different brands? Cause it seems like on a couple of these brands, like their pricing just wasn't quite there. Or do you keep looking at stuff in that same brand?
So great question. And this goes back to my philosophy around like every supplier, and mainly talking about distributors here, right? Every distributor is going to have strengths and weaknesses in terms of which brands they can price competitively on and which brands they are just not going to be competitive on. So to use like a more concrete example, let's say we've got two different distributors and both of those distributors carry, let's say Crayola and let's say Samsung. Right? So distributor A might have great pricing on Crayola, terrible pricing on Samsung, whereas distributor B, it might be the opposite. They might have terrible pricing on Crayola, but great pricing on Samsung. So it comes down to figuring out which brands your supplier is able to be competitive on. And usually it's a small percentage of all the brands that they carry. So it's going to take some digging. It's going to take some conversations around, hey, which brands sell the best for you guys? Which ones are you able to price most competitively on? And just having some of these open conversations with your sales reps to then almost narrow your scope of what you're targeting down to, okay, I think I'm going to have the most success with these 5 to 10 brands. Let's dig into those instead of having to go through a catalog of 300 different brands.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So does that mean like with, you said you mentioned earlier, you buy from 3 or 4 different massive tool distributors. Are those going to be like different specialties? So this is your X brand, the other distributor you buy all your Y brand, or do you tend to mix it up?
Yes, it really, like in that example, it depends because like with our tool distributors, there's one brand in particular that we buy from 2 main distributors. providers. And what we like to do is we actually like to play them against each other. So we'll say, hey,
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Yeah.
supplier X has this product at 27. You're quoting me at 28, right? If you can match his price, I'll go with you guys because you have more in stock and we actually want to buy more than they have available. So a lot of times it's like a negotiation, kind of pitting your suppliers against each other. That's also more of an advanced tactic as well, that you want to use that truthfully. You don't want to quote a price that your supplier is offering you if that's not their actual price, because they're going to find out and then both suppliers are going to hate you. So the key is just knowing, which supplier can be competitive on which product, right?
Yeah, that's just Walmart price matching at scale right there. That's all that
Yeah.
is. That's awesome. So another thing people talk about all the time is like we were talking about, like making new pictures and PPC and that type of stuff. Like how important is that for your business? For some people, that's all they talk about with wholesale. Sometimes it sounds like people never do that. So like how important is that really?
Yeah, so it's almost like not an entirely separate business, but it's just like a little shift on the wholesale business model. So like traditional wholesale, it's just arbitrage at scale, right? It's just buying products in bulk from manufacturers and distributors and flipping them on Amazon. Only thing we care about is the price. Only thing we're looking at is the numbers. It's a simple numbers exercise, right? But there are many wholesale sellers, myself included, we do some of this, where in order to land some of these big brands, these brands want more from you than just the purchase order, right? There's always going to be sellers out there that can spend more than you. So because of that, placing a purchase order, you're just one of a million purchase orders that they could process. So a lot of times to land these bigger brands, you've got to come with some other value that you can add, whether that be generally it's going to be helping them to grow their Amazon sales. And in order to do that, you've got to know how to optimize listings. You've got to know how to run pay-per-click ads. It's like a whole separate skill set of things that you can do to help them actually grow aside from just placing an order. Now, this is more of an advanced strategy. It's not necessarily something I would recommend to newer sellers, but just keep in mind that if you approach a supplier and they deny you for whatever reason, you've had that like value-added approach in your back pocket to then say, hey, what if we can help you run ads? Or what if we can help you touch up your listing, right? That opens a whole new can of worms, whole new conversation. It also gives you access to a lot of brands that might not have worked with you previously that you can actually help them grow and become an authorized seller in the process.
Yeah, one of the most popular, like effective ones that I've heard people doing is they'll take a product that no one has sold for them yet. So it's not even on Amazon yet. Even if you're only buying 50 of them, it's like, hey, we're going to see if we can get this product of yours that no one is selling on Amazon. We'll grow your entire brand market share on Amazon. And that really tends to get brands really excited there. Obviously, you really got to know your stuff in terms of making listings and stuff for that. But it's in that same like brand management, wholesale partnership type arena there.
And a great example of that. So there was a guy I was talking to late last week. His name's Kevin. He cold called. It was a large manufacturer of, I think it was like sewage pumps or something like that. It's like very niche brand, but they're on Amazon. They've got like 80 different products on Amazon, big brand. And I would say probably 20% of their Amazon listings were crushing it. The other 80% were not doing that. They were just there and nobody's really selling on them. And so he called the brand and the brand said, hey, we don't want to cannibalize our Amazon sales. We've already got our Amazon resellers. We don't want to add more. I told him, I said, Kevin, you need to tell them, you need to make a proposition to them that says, hey guys, understood. We don't want to step on any toes. We're obviously, this is a new relationship. How about this? How about you let us take one of your mid-tier, maybe even one of your lower tier products, one that you guys don't sell that often, that doesn't look good on Amazon. Let us sell that product on Amazon. We'll touch up the listing. We'll run some advertising and let me prove to you that I can take your sales from A to B over the next, say, 60 to 90 days. And if I can grow those sales, which I'm confident I can, then can I have the permission to have a conversation about some of your better products, right? Because in the brands, like if I'm in the brand seat, that's such a no-brainer. It's like this guy, he's just going to help us grow sales of one of our products that quite frankly doesn't sell very well. Great. If he can get it done, then he obviously knows what he's doing and we'd be happy to have him as one of our authorized sellers, right? No-brainer proposition, and it worked. Like he has his follow-up call with, I think, the sales manager and our Amazon manager next week as well.
Awesome.
To kind of discuss it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, at the end of the day, especially when you're working with brands, it all comes down to why should they add one more seller to their network to have to worry about managing, right? So if you can convince them why it's worth adding another contact that they have to keep track of, then you'll be making a lot of money doing Amazon wholesale. And so another thing I want to talk on, I know you said you had a big PSA for a lot of new wholesale sellers, especially. What is that kind of one really important thing that these sellers need to avoid if they want to stay healthy?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked. And that is this. So it's stop buying inventory from Telegram or from Instagram or from WhatsApp. Guys, these suppliers that you see advertising on Instagram or on social media in general, 99% of the time, best case scenario, the supply chain is murky. Worst worst case scenario, the supply chain is the products are fake or they're stolen. Like I have seen this happen, and I know you have too, Warner. I've seen this happen to so many legitimate sellers. They buy a deal from a supplier that isn't legitimate, that isn't vetted, that isn't authorized, and their account gets shut down as a result because Amazon comes to find out that the products are not authentic. So just, I urge you guys, don't buy from suppliers that don't have a legit website, legit warehouse or office storefront of some sort that you can easily verify where they're buying directly from the manufacturer. Anything else, you're taking a huge risk.
Yeah, that's super, super important. And that also leads me to another quick question in there I want to ask as well. What's your take on those suppliers where they're listing the ASIN and that type of stuff? Like they know that you could sell it on Amazon.
Yep. And listen, we have bought from suppliers like that in the past, but come to find out pretty much every time those suppliers are not authorized by the manufacturers that they're carrying. They are just, call them gray market suppliers, call them more wholesalers, whatever you want to call them. They're not quite legitimate. They're so you got the brand, then you've got a legit distributor, and you got a lot of guys like you just mentioned that are on the gray area under distributors that, again, they're not authorized by the brand, and their invoicing and their documentation is not going to hold up in the eyes of Amazon. I can virtually guarantee it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know that those sometimes they can be decent, but yeah, the supply chain always seems like, oh, what are you doing? Like you could sell on Amazon. Why aren't you like all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So since people are watching this deep into the video, is there any kind of a gem for finding these specific wholesale suppliers you want to drop here at the end?
Yeah. And so this is something that we're going to go into detail on, I think day 4 of the wholesale challenge, sourcing products. And I've got a video on my YouTube about it. It is called the SPIFU method for finding suppliers. So in general, the method goes like there's a website called SPIFU.com, and SPIFU is an SEO tool, but we use it in a very unique way to find wholesale suppliers. So you can take the URL of a supplier that you've already vetted, that you know is legitimate. You can plug it into SPIFU. And if you scroll down to the results on the left-hand side of the screen, there's going to be a page called Organic Competitors. It's going to list 5 other websites that SPIFU thinks is similar to the one that you entered. And if you entered a legitimate supplier website, then a lot of times you'll find that the 5 organic competitors are 5 additional legitimate suppliers that you can then take those websites, plug them back into SPIFU, and a lot of times you can create like an endless loop of legitimate verified supplier leads using this method. Like I said, I've got a video on my YouTube on how to do that, but we're going to be doing like a 25 minute deep dive into just that one method during the wholesale challenge. So I think we got like 4 other methods for finding suppliers that we're going to be digging into there as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like a major reverse sourcing hack for suppliers almost. So if somebody's watching this video and they're thinking about the wholesale challenge, like who's like the ideal person who should join the wholesale challenge and get a ton of value?
Yes, ideal person. The people that have come through the challenge and have the most success the quickest are those that already have some sort of Amazon foundation, whether they're doing arbitrage, whether they're doing private label, or whether they've already started to do wholesale or they try to do wholesale and haven't yet quite found success. Those are the people that they've got the foundation out of the way. We arm them with the information and the community to then go execute, and then they crush it. So those are the type of people that always have the most success with.
Yeah, and I've seen a ton of the resources and stuff inside. Obviously, I took it the first time you did it, and yeah, like literally just like one gem here or there will pay for the program for you guys. If you want to check out the wholesale challenge, we're going to link it down below. It's that week-long live training with Corey. It's super awesome. Excited for you guys to get a ton of value from that. But if they want to go follow along the journey, Corey, where can they find you over on social media?
Yeah, so best place to find me is going to be over on YouTube. Got it right below me here, just at Corey Gannum on YouTube. And then guys, if you want more like longer form wholesale information, check out the Amazon Wholesale Podcast. I've been running that for over a year now. I think we've got like 58 episodes that you can binge from episode 1, all about interviewing successful wholesale sellers, how they got their start, what made them successful. Really good stuff there too.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for hopping on the channel here, Corey, sharing a ton of value. I learned some stuff today as well. So I'm excited for you guys to go implement this type of stuff. And yeah, appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you did find value, learn that type of stuff, you can hit the subscribe button if you want to help out. Let us know if you have any questions, comments. Always happy to answer those down below as well. But appreciate your time again, Corey. And you guys have a great rest of your day.